And once you're surrounded by people that are doing shit rather than people that are just talking about shit, it becomes a lot easier for you to do shit yourself. So one thing I cannot stress enough is do not pay for courses, do not pay for content, and do not pay for coaches at the very start of your real estate investing journey. You're not going to get enough value from them. Hey guys, Matt McKeever here, and so one of the most frequent questions I've got on my channel lately is, how do you get started in real estate? Should you be hiring a coach? Should you be paying for courses? And if so, what courses, what books, what blogs, what vlogs? I mean, there's a ton of information out there about real estate, and it spans from completely free to tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach you about real estate investing. So I figured let's shoot a video about it instead of me just answering the same question over and over and over and over and over again in the comments section. Let's just jump into it. So you decided you want to become a real estate investor, but you're brand new to the game. You don't have any family members, no friends, nobody you know is currently in real estate. Where should you start? Well, like just about anything in life, you're going to need to learn a ton before you're ready to dive into real estate. So I'm going to focus on what resources that helped me and what resources I think is going to help you get into real estate. So what learning resources do I recommend? Well, it really does come down to what sort of learner you are. So what learning resources do I recommend? Well, the way I got started in real estate was through reading books. And now one of the books you're going to hear about over and over again in real estate investing is Rich Dad Poor Dad. It was the gateway drug for me, and it's the gateway drug for thousands of real estate investors in North America. So the thing that's fantastic about Rich Dad Poor Dad is it's just amazing at getting you into the mind state of becoming a real estate investor. It really just lays things out in a very simple manner. I mean, you can read this so fast, it's so easy to read. You definitely need to read this book if you're just brand new to the idea of real estate investing. Now, if you've already read some books, you've listened to some podcasts, and you've watched tons of videos, a lot of the information there is going to be very basic, it's going to be very general, and it's not going to be overly actionable, but still great for just building that mindset, for getting you hungry to go out there and become a real estate investor. And so the second book that was really the gateway for me into real estate investing was The Wealthy Barber. And now this book isn't just solely focused on real estate, and it's got a little bit more of a Canadian flavor than a lot of the other personal finance or real estate books you'll find. But again, to me, it really just helped cement my idea of wanting to become a landlord. So no, it's not going to have the actionable content where you can go out immediately afterwards and buy real estate just based off of reading one or two of these books. So these really are just focused on mindset here. So the next book I'm going to recommend you check out isn't even really a real estate book, but honestly, I'm assuming that the reason you want to get into real estate is to build wealth, is to become, say, maybe a millionaire. So that's where The Millionaire Next Door comes into play. This book blew my mind at the time. I read it while I was in university, and it absolutely changed the trajectory of my life. I mean, I can't put into words the debt I owe this book. So if you're new to the idea of creating wealth, if you're new to the idea of becoming a real estate investor, there's a good chance you've probably been misled by society about what the average millionaire looks like. The average millionaire doesn't look like Grant Cardone. He doesn't look like Gary Vee. He or she doesn't have flamboyant wealth. Honestly, they're very normal people driving very normal cars, living in very normal suburbs. And so that's why I'm going to really recommend you guys check out The Millionaire Next Door, because it completely blew my mind at the time and helped me really become who I am today. You're not going to be driving a fancy car from day one. You're not going to be living in a McMansion if you're going to be trying to save up to build your real estate portfolio. And so that's why I think The Millionaire Next Door is so important and why it's such a useful book to read. But again, this is still more mindset oriented. So obviously by now you can tell, I think there's a huge amount to be said about just getting in the right mindset first of all. And so finally, the last book I'm going to recommend you check out is The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. And now this book actually does have some actionable items. It's going to help you figure out what sort of systems to build, and it's really going to start dipping your toes into what it's like to become a real estate investor and what you're going to need to do. So I can already hear some people in the comment section being like, wait, what? I have to read 4 books before I become a real estate investor? Well, no, technically you don't need to do anything. You can go out tomorrow and start investing in real estate. I'm just saying it's not a good idea. I'm just saying you should really consider checking out these books. And the nice thing is, literally every single book I've mentioned here is probably going to be at your library, or you can borrow it through an interloan program at your library. In the video description down below, I do have Amazon affiliate links to these books, but if I was you, I'd just go get them from the library. I'd save myself the 20 bucks a book and get it from the library. That's what I did. It's what I recommend you do too. But learn from these books, learn from these resources. Oh, and of course, one last bonus book is the Early Retirement Extreme book. You guys, if you've been watching my channel, if you've even seen a single video, you know I'm constantly referring to that book as my Bible, and that's no lie. It's honestly, it's the best book you could possibly read. If you're only going to read one book, read that book. It's not going to make you a real estate investor, but it's going to make you a very sharp individual. And it literally will show you how you could retire in 5 years if you're into that sort of thing. I'll probably do a video just outlining all of its principles in future videos, but for now, just take my word, check it out. The only thing is, this book is harder to find in your library, but there's still more of them out there than you'd expect. And if you're in London, Ontario, just hit me up and I'll give you one. So once you've maybe read a couple of books, got yourself into the mindset of becoming a real estate investor, the next thing I'm going to recommend is join some communities. And so join some online communities at first. They're a very easy way to dip your toe into learning about real estate, particularly start learning some real actionable items. So BiggerPockets is probably the golden standard of internet communities. It's literally the best forums, the best website, and the best podcast I'm aware of for real estate investors. So you definitely need to join there. Also, what's fantastic is BiggerPockets has all kinds of regional areas on its forums. So if you're from, say, London, Ontario, you can dive into the Ontario, Canada sub-forums and find just a group of investors that all know exactly what you're going through with your local municipality, with your city. And that's huge. But in addition to that, it's just a wealth of resources in general about real estate investing. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of members on there that are all actually in the trenches being real estate investors. And so there's nothing like the camaraderie that grows up in these communities. So if you're going to only be a part of one internet forum, of one website, and you want to become a real estate investor, it honestly has to be BiggerPockets. If it's not BiggerPockets, you are doing it wrong. But in addition to that, I'll just throw in a little bit of bonus Canadian content, because BiggerPockets is a little bit lighter on the Canadian side than I personally like. The only way we can fix that is by all of us being more active on it. But in addition, there's the Canadian Money Forum. And so the Canadian Money Forum is fantastic as well. It's got a sub-forum that's all focused on real estate investing. Now, as I mentioned in a previous video, that community isn't quite as real estate oriented. So there's gonna be a few more haters about real estate, where a website like BiggerPockets is gonna be a lot of rah, and a lot of positivity. So depending on what you're looking for in the internet community, maybe weigh that accordingly for your personal preference. But finally, the last one I'm going to recommend is the Mr. Money Mustache forums. And so again, there's a real estate sub forum on there, which is fantastic. But overall, just if you're interested in early retirement and wealth building in general, I highly recommend you check out the Mr. Money Mustache forums. They're also just really funny on those forums. So the humor there is just outrageous. So definitely check that out as well. So those are the 3 websites or forums I'd recommend you check out if you're interested in becoming a real estate investor. Honestly, there's a wealth of information here, and there's a ton of people that have been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and they're the best ones to learn from. Learn from other people's mistakes. Don't just reinvent the wheel. It's a waste of time. And so again, just building off of it, but if you're more of an audio learner and you want to start learning actionable items that you can start implementing today, BiggerPockets. BiggerPockets podcast is literally the best real estate podcast I've ever heard of. I listen to it all the time. I listen to almost every episode, and you can even listen to it at 2 times speed once you start getting familiar with some of the jargon, and you can really condense your learning and take away tons of actionable items from tons of intelligent real estate investors all across North America. So again, links in the video description down below to all these websites. I highly recommend you check them out and join at least one of these communities, if not all 3. You're gonna get a ton of value for free from it. So once you've read a couple of books, you've started listening to podcasts, and you've joined a couple online communities, what do you do next to really prepare yourself for becoming a real estate investor? Well, it's going to come down to networking. So once you've read a few books, you've joined a couple online communities, and you maybe started cranking out BiggerPockets podcast, what's the next step you should consider doing? Well, I'm going to recommend you start networking. And now I know networking's not everyone's cup of tea. A lot of us had bad experiences. Probably those experiences were the shitty business card trading. That's like the worst type of networking there is, but networking's still huge. Honestly, if you can meet someone in your local market that's doing what you're already wanting to do, you need to surround yourself with those people. You guys know I'm always talking about how you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Networking's gonna help you level up yourself and level up your network. So, where can you find landlords in your local area? Well, BiggerPockets is filled with tons of meetups. If you haven't already kind of figured out, this video could almost be an infomercial for BiggerPockets, but that's just because it's literally the best real estate website I've ever found. If you disagree, tell me in the comment section down below and tell me what website am I missing out on, because BiggerPockets has been such a wealth of information, knowledge, and networking for myself. I use it as a crutch almost at this point. But so BiggerPockets filled with all kinds of meetups. In addition to that, meetup.com is a fantastic place to find like-minded individuals and find other real estate investors. And one thing that a lot of people overlook is Facebook. If you search the Facebook groups, I'm willing to bet that if you live in a decent sized metro area, that you're gonna find a couple landlord networking groups. So these are the 3 resources I go to look for real estate investing networking. Now the thing is, probably some of you have been to some terrible networking events, and I get that. Honestly, some networking events are just used by coaches or gurus as ways to sell you shit. Those aren't the networking events you want to go to. If you have to pay big sums of money to be part of that networking group, it's probably not worthwhile, particularly when you're getting started. There may be time eventually where that's justified, but at the start, please don't waste your money on joining expensive networking groups or masterminds or whatever the buzzword is at the time. There can be value in those, but at the very beginning, you just need to build a solid foundation before you start worrying about the minutia about refining your knowledge base. Just look for free shit on BiggerPockets, meetup.com, and facebook.com. And so, for example, in London, Ontario, what do we have? Well, we had Lyric, which already exists, and the way I found that was through just networking with local landlords that I already knew. A couple of them told me about it. I was able to check it out. It was awesome. Secondly, we have a BiggerPockets meetup. Now, I didn't really co-found it, but I'd say I'm kind of an unofficial co-sponsor of it these days. But what it was literally just one dude, Matt, not this Matt, the other Matt. He just decided to start a networking group on BiggerPockets, and now we get like 10, maybe sometimes 20 people out to it. And finally, in London, we also founded London on Fire, which is actually more of a financial independence meetup group. But because it's filled with a lot of young people chasing financial independence, a lot of them end up being real estate oriented. So again, if you haven't found any real estate investing groups in your area, maybe look for an early retirement group, because I'm willing to bet there's a few landlords sprinkled about that group as well. And so originally I was going to do a whole nother section about how to find a mentor, but I realized that this video is already getting too long. I'll do a separate video showing you how I'd approach finding a mentor. Honestly, I've had a couple mentors in my life and they've made massive differences in the projection and the trajectory of my life. Okay. But I realize this video is already getting too long and mentorship is a whole nother beast in and of itself. So I'll do a whole separate video on that. But mentors are also a fantastic resource, and they really gave me the confidence and the assuredness to go out there and really scale up my business. I just been kind of meddling around with one property here, doing this or that, and that was fine. But once I started meeting mentors, once I started networking, I was really able to level myself up a lot faster simply because I was surrounding myself with other people that were in the trenches doing this. And once you're surrounded by people that are doing shit rather than people that are just talking about shit, it becomes a lot easier for you to do shit yourself. Another thing you should do before you actually dive into becoming a full-fledged real estate investor and buying your first income property is to do some dry runs. Make or find a spreadsheet to start projecting cash flows, start figuring out your return on investment, start figuring out your cash on cash, start figuring out your cap rate. If all those words I just threw out at you are above your head, it's just another sign you need to do more reading, do more research, and really dive in and learn as much as possible. So, become a spreadsheet junkie, get good with the numbers, and you'll become a good real estate investor. Go to tons of open houses. Now, probably a lot of open houses aren't going to be income properties, and if they are, they're probably not going to be great income properties, but just get familiar with building, with construction, with going into dirty basements, with looking at the age of furnaces, with checking out water heaters. Just learn as much as possible, and the best way to do that is just by doing these dry runs, because it's going to cost you nothing, but you're going to take away tons of it. Honestly, at this point in time, I've been through, I don't know, but it would be in the thousands of houses I've walked through. If you walk through 1,000 houses and you have your eyes open the entire time, you're going to learn some stuff. You're going to see all kinds of crazy shit, and it's also going to open you up to what's possible. Also, another great strategy is do as many tag-alongs as possible. Find a local property manager and find out if you can job shadow them for a day or tag along for a day. And even if you have to do some grunt work like painting with them or taking out garbage or evicting a tenant, all that's going to be fantastic knowledge for yourself. It's going to really level up your skill level. And as well, tag along with some realtors. Tag along with them when they go to do prospective showings, when they go to do whatever it is. If they're an income-oriented realtor, tag along with them to their showings with another client. Make it apparent that you're not going to be competition, but you just want to learn as much as possible. So again, tag-alongs, go out into the field and start learning hands-on shit, even if you have to work for free. I think working for free is one of the most underrated ways to learn. As well, start learning the process. And so what I mean by this, get a copy of a blank offer and read it through from start to finish. One of the worst feelings when you're starting out real estate investing is finding what you think is the perfect opportunity, but having never written an offer before. It can be so scary, so intimidating. So get copies of blank offers, get copies of old offers if you've made friends with a couple local landlords or a couple real estate agents. Get copies just so you can really learn the process. Ask realtors for the standard conditions they usually put on income property. Ask your fellow landlords that you've met through networking what are the standard conditions they're using when they're offering on investment property. Honestly, there's no one right way to make an offer, and so that's why just aggregating as much information as possible is going to be so powerful. And then finally, learn your city. Learn your local municipal bylaws. Do you need a license to be a landlord? Does your rental property need a license? If so, what sort of restrictions are on it? Learn the zoning. Honestly, so many people get into real estate investing and they don't understand the zoning of their own city. That is scary. That is dangerous. Not only is it scary, it's dangerous not to understand the zoning, particularly if you get into converted older buildings that may not be purpose-built. Oh, and one last thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about dry runs. Also, go and meet up with multiple banks before you actually start making offers on properties. Sit down with multiple banks, learn their processes, learn what you're going to need to bring to them to be ready. And honestly, I could probably do a whole nother video series just on how to be prepared for a bank, how to impress a bank, and how to make the bank's life as easy as possible so they say yes to you. And so what else should you do if you want to become a real estate investor? Well, you should binge watch my entire back catalog of videos. Smash that like button on every single one. But in all seriousness, there's no silver bullet. There's no, I have enough knowledge now to become a real estate investor. There's no finite way to know for certain. There comes a certain point where you're just gonna have to dive in and learn hands-on by making mistakes. But if you haven't spent at least a few months learning about real estate investing, in my opinion, you're not ready. You're not ready. If you're not willing to commit a few months to learning this, then you're not ready. If you want to watch one YouTube video, if you want to read one book or listen to one podcast, and then think you're an expert and that you can go out and buy real estate investing and you're going to be successful, that's an extremely dangerous mentality. Real estate investing is about the long game. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. There's no silver bullet, and you're not going to become a millionaire overnight. This is all about building a sustainable long-term plan towards wealth. And so do me a huge favor, if you're brand new to the idea of real estate investing, please don't go out and pay for content, courses, or coaches. I know these gurus, they're gonna like bully you into signing up for a course or whatever. And can there be value in these courses? Absolutely. But first you need a solid foundation. Don't go out and pay for a course. Don't go out and pay for content. Go to your local library, learn for free. Go online to Bigger Pockets, Canadian Money Forum, Miss Money Mustache Forum, and learn for free. Do not waste your money at the very start. Now, that's not to say that all courses, all coaches, and all content aren't worth money. Just, in my opinion, at the very start, they're not. And so if you end up going to some of these free seminars where then the entire time they're just pitching you about how you need to join this mailing list, or you need to sign up for this e-course, or you need this level of coaching to learn about real estate investing, just think about it. Are they really real estate investors, or are they just selling you shit? Shots fired. But just know, if you want to become a real estate investor, you're trying to become self-employed. You're trying to start or build your own business, and you need to treat this like a business, so you need to take it seriously. If you don't take it seriously, no one else is going to take you serious. So again, links to everything in the video description down below, to all the resources I mentioned. There are Amazon affiliate links there where you can go and buy those books, but like I said, I'd rather see you guys use your local library, save yourself some money. But if you're gonna buy the books anyways, why not just hook me up with that affiliate money? So yeah, that's a really high level breakdown of how I'd go about becoming a real estate investor if I was to do it all over again. Now, I know you're probably not satisfied with this answer because it wasn't fast, it wasn't easy. It's gonna be a lot of work and it's gonna take time. But anything worth doing is worth doing right, and it's worth taking the appropriate amount of time for. So if you haven't spent at least a couple months learning about real estate investing, please don't start investing in real estate yet. Just learn a little more. Just take some more time. I just don't want to see you get burned on your first investment. And one last thing is just be careful about the people you're taking advice from. Honestly, What's their angle? What is their angle? Seriously, what's their angle? Because I know personally, I've been bullied by so many real estate agents that showed me 2 or 3 properties and were like, okay, Matt, which one do you want to buy? And I was like, none of them, because none of them fit my investment criteria. And there comes a point where if you haven't done the appropriate research, you're going to really start to doubt yourself, and you're going to think that these real estate agents are right. If they're just focused on the commission, if they're just focused on this sale, they're not the right real estate agent for you, trust me. And same goes with like coaches. When you go to these free seminars, they are so good at getting you to hand over your credit card that day. Just take a night, just sleep on it before you give them your credit card. Please do that for me. I'd hate to see you waste your money on these gurus, these coaches, these e-courses, these whatever it is. There can absolutely be value in them, but just learn a lot yourself first. And then once you start getting ready to refine or get into the minutia, that's where coaches, where courses may come of value. But if you're brand new to the game, it's not the best approach. What I just laid out for you is far better than what you're going to get from any course. Now, yeah, you're going to have to do some self-study, some independent study, but trust me, it's going to be worth it. Because seriously, are you in this to win or not? So that's it for this video, guys. If you got value from it, smash that like button. It really does put a smile on my face. And if you think this was a good video, please share this with an aspiring real estate investor. Sharing is caring. It's how I get new subscribers. So until next time, YouTube wants you to check out the videos down below. And are you still cool with these longer videos? Because I get nervous when I see my viewer retention drop off at 50%. So thanks. Bye.